Camera switching. Airbook. Okay, we are live.
Hi everybody, welcome to Tuesdays in the Shop. Sorry we're a little late. We were having some technical difficulties. I was talking for about 6 or 7 minutes before we realized that we weren't actually going live.
And I was like, no one's watching us.
Yeah, we were a little
What's
concerned
going
that
on?
no one was watching.
Like, do they not like us anymore?
So thank you those of you that stuck around and waited. I'll go through my spiel again. So today I'm going to show you some projects, some really quick back to school projects. I know that most of us don't really have a lot of time, but these are some projects that I think are really handy and also quick to make. So the first couple are from the We All Sew blog that Bernina has, weallsew.com. We'll have some links to the projects also in the feed or whatever comments. I don't know the technical terms. So the first one, which is important for all of us these days, hand sanitizer. So this is just a cute little case that you can put any, 2 ounce? Yeah, 2 ounce hand sanitizer bottle in here so that you can clip it to your backpack or purse or even keychain, I suppose, if you wanted to. It's just like a little pouch with a couple pieces that this one's elastic and this one is elastic, so you can just stick your bottle in there and then wrap the elastic around so that it doesn't fall out. It's super simple. It's 2 pieces of fabric. I don't remember the dimensions, but they will be in the blog post. One thing though, the tutorial is actually written for a serger. It's written by Suki Sews, who is one of Bernina's serger experts. So she did it on a serger, which probably would have gone even a little bit faster. I did it on a regular sewing machine using one of the overlock stitches. So just one needle, regular, top and bottom thread, just like normal sewing. I don't know if you can see it, but it does have a finished edge though. So it finishes the edge and puts in a seam at the same time. It doesn't stretch like it would if it had been done by an overlocker. But in this case, we don't need it to stretch. So it's totally fine. This one I had to trim. I think this one was, oh no, that one was, I don't remember. I should have looked it up. But I did have to trim this one down just a little bit because the overlocker cuts off a little bit of fabric and the seam is a little bit wider. So her piece was slightly bigger. And since my seams were a little bit smaller, I went in and trimmed, I think like 1/4 of an inch off the long side, or no, the short side, and like 1/8 of an inch off the long side.
So you probably could have just left it, right?
I probably could have, but I'm one of those people that's not happy with almost there. Generally, I make things more complicated than they need to be. So I'm sure it would be totally fine if you left it the dimensions that it says in the tutorial. Also, there are different size sanitizer bottles.
Also true.
I found another one when I was looking through my house for them that was a slightly bigger bottle. So that one probably would have fit even better if I had left the dimensions as they were.
Oh, Dana says hi. Do you remember Dana who lived here and then she moved to Virginia during the pandemic? So many people left New York during the pandemic.
If I saw, I probably would.
I'm sure you would remember her.
I'm so
Hi,
bad
Dana.
with names. But anyway, so if you have a Bernina 4 series or above, I used my 570 to stitch this, and I used stitch 19, which is one of the overlocker stretch stitches, but it has a straight seam on the left hand side, and then it also wraps around to secure the edge. So I thought that, I'm sure there are other ones you could use. You could probably just use a zigzag stitch, honestly, but I was trying to keep it kind of close to the original project. So that's this one. Yeah, my daughter is all about this. She calls it Hanitizer, which I think is adorable.
So cute.
The next project, also something we can probably all use, is a little tissue cover. It's definitely more attractive than those, plastic ones you get at the drugstore, and those never last either. Like the top comes off and they don't close, and then it's stuff, your tissues get all gross. So this one actually stays pretty. I mean, there's a tissue wadded up in there, but stays closed pretty well. You could even put a little bit of Velcro or a snap or something on it if you really were worried about it. This one is even easier. This one is just 2 pieces of fabric. I'll take the tissues out to give you a little bit better look. Again, this is a Suki Sews project on the We All Sew blog. Again, it also was written for an overlocker. I will turn it wrong side out, to show you my seams, which unfortunately the gray thread on a dark gray fabric isn't the easiest to see. This one I didn't alter at all. I just used the same measurements that she cut. Used that the number 19 stitch on the Bernina, but most overlocker stitches or even a zigzag will work. So this one, you basically, the 2 short sides you sew, and then you turn it right side out and fold the two top on top of each other, sew the top and the bottom, and then box the corners. And if that's something you haven't done before, this would be a nice low stress way to try it out. It's the same technique you would use if you were boxing corners on a bag, tote bag, things like that, which actually could also come in handy on the next project.
First talk about the fabrics.
Oh, yes, sorry. So this is, my tissue cover is made out of the taxi stand fabric from our My NYC collection. And then we have the I'm Riding Here bicycle fabric on the inside.
I like how you did transportation.
I have to, yeah, I'm weird that way. So the next one, or not the next one, the last one that I showed you is the My NYC stamps in multi. And this one I didn't even fussy cut, and the scale is really good for a small project like this, because you get a lot of these little motifs without even having to fussy cut. They just show up. So that's nice. And then on the inside of this one is the same print but in gray, or concrete, I think it might be called. So those are those 2, and then the last is something I know that we can all use because I use them all over the house in all kinds of bags and different places, give them as gifts. Just a simple zippered pouch. This one is approximately 9x6. Good for, pencils, makeup, sewing supplies, first aid kits. My brother uses his for chargers and cords when he's traveling. All kinds of stuff, really. So this is also a good, if your kids are going back to school and they need to keep their, art supplies or pens and pencils and scissors and glues and those kinds of things. This is nice. This is our My NYC, this facades in steam. This one I did fussy cut. I love the opportunity for a good fussy cutting. So on this side I've got the Empire State Building and Lincoln Center, and on the other Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge and the Guggenheim. And then on the inside we have a lining. So I don't remember what I put on the inside of that one, but I used the NYC stamps on this one. I think I got confused.
I think the lining is the best part of these pouches. It's
yeah, Vet loves that they're lined. To me, it's
not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
No, it's such wraps. It seems like a magic trick, especially when you have a zipper.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have any raw edges.
Right. There are no raw edges showing anywhere here. Everything is encased. I think it makes it easier, actually. But, whatever. And I've made dozens and dozens of these. Canvas works really well with canvas, works well with
vinyl.
Vinyl, yes, yep. The word I was looking for. So vinyl fabric, I definitely have some of those. Yeah, it's just really simple. The best part is you can make it whatever size you want. So if you needed one that's 10 by 10, you could make it 10 by 10. You can make literally whatever you want. We also have a free pattern for this, and it's even written, cut the size square that you want or rectangle. So you can make whatever size you want, showing you how to put in the zipper with the lining as quick and dirty as possible.
Not dirty.
Yeah, you're right. It's not dirty. Yeah, because I showed this to Jeannie,
Quick and
she's like,
elegant.
you make this so nice. Like, you could have done this, could have done it quick and dirty. And I was like, I can't do that.
I still use the one you made me like 10 years ago.
I believe it.
With that Tula laminate.
Yeah, I have that one too. I have one made out of that.
Yep.
We keep poker chips in it at home, which don't need to be in vinyl, or laminated, but whatever.
I have makeup in mine.
Yeah, I have a different laminated one for makeup, and also when you learn to do the boxed corners in the tissue case, this same technique could also apply to the zipper pouch, so that you have one that'll stand up. The makeup case, or the one that I made, actually, I just took one of these that I had already made, and it was too deep, so I cut the bottom off and then boxed the corners and sewed it back together. And it's like the perfect size for my makeup and to keep in my bag. So yeah, the instructions are not written with the boxed corners, but once you've gotten a couple under your belt, I think it would be pretty easy to figure out how to do it. And I'm sure there are other tutorials in lots of places to show you how to do that as well.
Maybe we'll actually do it one as a box bag.
I could do this one as a box, because I'm going to show you how to do one.
In the future, maybe we write another version of the free pattern, but with box corners.
We certainly
and maybe
could.
like a handle or something like that. Like,
I've done that too.
Yeah.
I have one down in my desk downstairs that has
think
box
that-
corners and a handle. I totally forgot about that one.
It's nice when these are simple projects if you know what you're doing.
Right, and that are
But-
easy to alter.
Yep.
To make as customizable as you want. So if you're making them as gifts or something like that, a simple, quick one like this is nice. But if you have something in mind that you want to carry, you can really make it as specific and custom as you want. You could put pockets on the inside. There's, it's
And
almost endless.
This is the kind of thing that really doesn't take that long to sew, but it kind of blows people's minds when you sew these kinds of things for them,
Yeah.
especially when you customize the fabric and like maybe the person's really into like, I don't know, make one for like holding their pool cues or something. Like
Yeah.
really specific of
Absolutely,
the-
yeah.
the
Like the one with the
recipients.
poker chips. I mean,
Right.
it's actually just this size. But yeah, it just perfectly
maybe
fits
like
all the poker
someone
chips.
who's really into their straightening iron, you make one for the, you know what
That's
I mean?
that's a good one, yeah. Or curling iron or straightening iron, because those are kind of long and skinny.
And kind of a weird shape.
And you could even put the heat resistant batting in it and make it heat proof. So there's lots of potential here. I know that not everyone is at that level yet, but like I said, once you make one of these, you're gonna want to make more. And then once you've made a few, you'll start to understand how it works and the kinds of alterations and customization that you can do.
Yep. So our free pattern is like a choose your own adventure style.
Yes.
Where you decide what size you want your finished bag to be, and then you follow the instructions with your measurements, which is really cool.
Yeah, so we're going to show you how to do one real quick. So I have, I should move this stuff out of the way. So we're going to use another one of our fabrics, Horizon border print in River for this one. And this is kind of a weird shape. This could be for like a knitting project, embroidery, shoes, something odd shaped. But this is one that you're not going to find in a store. So if you're in need of a shape like this, you can totally do it yourself. So this is going to be the exterior. And then the lining is going to be our pizza wrap fabric.
Did you cut those the same size?
Roughly. This was like a last minute thing. So they're approximately the same size. Okay. I only have 9-inch zippers, so it's about 9 across or 9.25 by 13 tall. But like we said, it can be anything. And seam allowance is not really a big deal either because, I mean, unless you're trying to fit something specific, if it ends up, 9 3/4 or whatever versus, it's not really a big deal.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should embroider one.
Of course we should. That's actually what Jeannie was saying. She's like, oh, I wish, this should be embroidered and you could put batting in it and you could quilt around the shapes. And I was like, I know, I want to, believe me, but this is supposed to be simple, quick.
Right.
Back to school projects.
Right.
So that'll be another video at some point, maybe down the line. But right now, just get it done. So that's what we're going to show you now. So we can switch to
Other camera.
Okay. So we're going to do one at a time. So I have one of my exterior and one of my lining, and I'm going to set the other two aside for the moment. They can go over there. So this is my outside fabric, exterior fabric. I'm going to put it face up. I have my zipper. I am going to put the zipper face down. And one of the ways I like to think about it is if I were sewing, I would put right sides together. If I were sewing clothing or, a bag or whatever. Patchwork, almost anything really. You put right sides together. So the face of the zipper would be considered the right side. So I'm going to put that down first and line it up approximately with the edges and line it up as good as I can on the top. And then I'm going to take my lining and put my lining face down on top of the zipper. And usually I actually cut my lining the same as my exterior. In this case, it's a little bit shorter. Mostly because I just didn't have quite as much fabric of the rat as I did for the other one. But I don't have a problem when they're the same size. Obviously, you don't want your lining to be any bigger than the exterior, but in general, if you cut them the same size, that is totally fine. So lining these up, lining this up also. So I want to make sure if it's not cut exactly, I want to have it centered on my exterior, pretty much similar to that. And I like using the Wonder Clips as opposed to pins for zippers. I just think the zippers bend too much. So I'm going to...
Wait, what do you mean by they bend too much?
Well, if I'm trying to put a pin here, it's bending my zipper and my fabric, which honestly isn't really that big a deal. What is more of a big deal is the fact that my pin is pointing towards the machine. So as I sew towards it, I'm gonna have to pull this pin out a little earlier than I really want to.
And you can't pin the other way, the perpendicular way.
It doesn't work as well. I'm sure you can. If pins are all you have, it's, you can make it work for sure. But if you have the Wonder Clips, I think they work a little bit better.
And yes, we do sell those.
Mm-hmm. And the Wonder Clips are nice. I used to, honestly, before the Wonder Clips were everywhere, I would sometimes use the tiny little binder clips, but they don't lay flat. And the Wonder Clips have a flat side that lays flat, which is much nicer than those binder clips. Those are also really bulky.
I heard people used to use those hair clips, the ones that kind of snap.
Oh yeah, like barrettes. Yeah.
But those don't lay flat either.
Right. Those, I've seen people use those for binding, which makes sense if you don't have these.
Right.
But I think these are worth it for many reasons. Okay, so I have my first side set up. So again, I have my exterior face up, my zipper face down, and then my lining fabric also face down.
So you made like a sandwich.
Yes, exactly. I'm making a sandwich. In this case, I'm going to come over here, and I have my zipper foot on. One thing that makes it easier that I didn't mention is what I'm going to start sewing from here and sew down. And this, the zipper pull is really in the way. So I'm actually going to move that zipper pull before I even start sewing, just a few inches. Line this back up again. And then once I sew a few inches in, I'll stop with my needle down, raise the foot, and then pull the pull closed so that I never have to sew around the pull, because you'll never get it straight. I don't think it's possible.
I like
So
it.
if you don't have to sew around it, that's even better.
I like that trick.
And let's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll move that camera a little closer to you, maybe.
Okay. Okay. So if you can see, I have the zipper foot, and I've known people that just use a regular foot to sew zippers on.
Is that person you?
No, I've
okay.
never done that. Someone we used to work with
Oh.
came in and was like, she actually did a much better job than I thought possible for not using a zipper foot. But I was like, you know what? It's so much easier if you use a zipper foot.
I think Jeannie is one of those people.
She could be.
She basically doesn't use any specialty feet. She just makes it
Why
work.
not? Make your life easier. And every machine comes with a zipper foot too.
That's true.
So there's no reason not to use it. In this case, with the Bernina is the only one I've seen like this, where the zipper foot is like a skinny ski right in the middle, and you have to move your needle either all the way to the right or left. In this case, I have moved it all the way to the left. I want my needle to be in between my foot and the teeth of the zipper. No matter what machine you're on, that's where you want your needle. And then I'm lining up the edge of my fabric with the opposite edge of the zipper foot. A lot of machines, the needle stays in the center, and then you either put the foot on either side. So I'm gonna go ahead. Go ahead and move that clip already. And so now that I've gone a little bit, I am going to put my needle down, raise my foot, get in here and close the zipper so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. And now it's all easy going. And I'm guessing this needle needs to be replaced because I can hear it going through the fabric. So I'm just gonna go all the way to the end. Do a little back stitch, which probably isn't really even necessary because I'm gonna sew over that seam later, but never hurts. So here is I'm gonna open this up, and I have my first side here with my zipper and my lining. No raw edges. I'm going to come back and top stitch this after I do the other side. So we're gonna go back to the
Why
other.
after you do the other side?
So I don't have to switch my foot.
Oh.
Actually, no, I don't even have to switch my foot. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can do it in either order.
Okay.
I like doing the same steps at this, same.
One after the other?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, right. So this time I'm putting my exterior face up again. And this is where a lot of people I know have gotten confused. But again, it's the same as you would with pretty much any type of sewing. You put your right sides together. So I'm still putting my right sides together, lining them up, lining up the edges as well, or at least as best I can here. I'm not sure if this was a little wonky. And then taking the lining and putting it face down. So in this case, exterior face up, zipper face down, lining face down. And again, I have the right sides of my lining facing each other. So that's a little bit of a clue. You want those, the lining to face each other and the exterior to face each other.
Can you just do those steps again?
I
Because
sure
I'm still
can.
confused.
Yeah, I remember when I would teach this class, everybody would get the first one fine, but then putting the second one on always.
I'm pretty sure you tried to teach me this at some point, and then I was like, how about you just do it for me?
Probably, since that's how a lot of our projects go. So we have our exterior without a zipper on the table face up, and then we have our exterior piece with a zipper face down on top of that one, lining up the top edge and the two sides, which I'll do better when I have a better angle there. And then your lining piece face down. And then again, you would line it up with the top edge and the two sides. So my two linings are right sides together, and my two exterior are right sides together.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's so confusing, because you think that the lining should be on the inside, but really they're next to each other at this stage.
Right. But if you think about it, so if I were to open this up like this, the lining is still on the underside of the zipper.
Right.
So that maybe that's helpful for some people to think about it that way. And then if I were to flip this over, the outside of the zipper is facing the outside of the bag.
In the same direction, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, if you break it down, it might be helpful.
It somewhat makes sense.
Right. If you
of.
know how to break it down, maybe, then it might make a little bit more sense.
Also, if you've made 300 of these like you have.
Yeah, I don't have to think too much. I mean, I still have to think about it, but not that hard. So I'm going to clip these where I have a little bit better reach.
Oh yeah, because I moved the camera closer, so now she really can't get to
Yeah.
it.
But same as last time. Just lining it up with the top as best I can, lining up the sides. That's one of the tricky parts, is making sure that your sides are also lined up, so that you don't end up with, this side over here and this side over there, so that when you open it up in the end, that they don't line up.
I did not understand that.
Well, once I sew it, it'll make more sense. Line up your sides, that's the moral. You could also sew the lining. I'm sewing both the exterior and the lining at the same time. You can sew them separately also.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, there's no reason to, but if it makes more sense to you, go ahead and do it. And as I get a little bit closer to the zipper pull, I'm going to do the same thing I did last time and stop and move it back so that I don't have to sew around it. So now is probably a good time. So I'm going to put my needle down, my foot up, open this up, and pull the pull out of the way. There we go.
Oh, Dana had an interesting idea. You could add a loop to the side and then make it into a wristlet.
You absolutely could.
I think that's a great idea.
I like it. Very
Real
good.
quick before I forget, the reason you put the needle down is so that you don't shift your sewing?
Correct.
Okay.
So nothing moves while you're pulling the pull. And I'll do another back stitch, even though I didn't at the beginning. And so now, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. So now when I unfold all of this goodness.
It looks like an
all of
octopus.
This, yeah, blah, 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 pull the two sides apart so I have my lining and my exterior. So what I was talking about, lining up the two sides, so it's very easy to have this piece be half an inch that way and this piece be half an inch that way, and then they don't line up quite right when you're sewing
So you
sewing
mean
them
when
together.
you pin them,
Yes,
the sides need to line up.
right.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, it's a little confusing, but then like we said, once you've done it a few times, it's pretty simple. And now I'm actually going to leave the zipper foot on and just sew a top stitch on both sides. If I wasn't trying to do this quick, I would probably press this first, but I'll make it work. I'm just gonna, what you want to do is make sure that your lining is not like tucked under or anything like that, and just kind of pull everything away, smooth everything out before, so that it's nice and flat. If you're not pressing it.
I really like that aqua zipper with those fabrics.
I know, and I thought this one was fun too, the orange. These two prints don't have that orange, but it is in some of the other ones. But yeah, I like this too. The text up here is in that kind, well, not quite that color, but close enough.
I like it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my top stitch real quick, and then I'm gonna sew all the way around. So this time I'm keeping on my zipper foot, but I'm actually gonna move my needle all the way to the right. And
Why?
I'll show you in just a second. So I can now just line up the left edge of the zipper foot with the actual teeth and use those as a guide. And then now the needle is on the right hand side, and it gives me a nice, nice top stitch. You could also use your regular foot. Again, I'm going to put my needle down, move my pole.
Oh yeah, and if your machine at home doesn't have a needle up down,
Just use the hand wheel,
exactly.
like we all did back in the day.
Before we got spoiled
Yeah,
with our
exactly.
wonderful machines.
I am definitely spoiled. So you're letting the foot just go right along the zipper teeth makes it so easy to get a nice clean top stitch. And then I'm going to turn it around and do the exact same thing on this side. And I'm sort of pulling and smoothing as I'm going to make sure that that both the top and the lining are not are
Bunching.
nice and flat and away from the zipper. And again, here, I'll use the hand wheel. Put the needle down, raise the foot, move the pole, get it out of the way, and then put your foot back down, and you're good to go. All right. So, I mean, you don't have to top stitch, but it keeps the fabric from getting caught in the zipper. I've got some
I'm
threads.
gonna try to zoom in and show the top stitch.
Yeah, it's probably going to be hard to see because it's a dark gray on top of this blue. But I think it makes it look more finished and a little bit neater, and it does keep it from getting caught in the zipper, which is always good.
Yeah, and that's so annoying when you get
Yeah.
your zipper caught.
So that'll help prevent that from happening. Now I'm going to go back to my regular foot and put my needle back where it belongs. So this part is also a little bit, can be a little bit confusing. What you want to do now is make sure that your zipper is open. That is very important. You need at least a couple inches. If your zipper is bigger than your bag is, it is even more important to make sure that the pull is inside where you're going to sew. Because we're going to sew right across this. And believe me, I've done that, where the pull ended up out here and
You can't do anything about that at that point.
Nothing you can do. So yeah, so make sure, but also if you leave it closed, in this case, you won't be able to get it open.
Right.
So you have to leave a little bit, just enough to get your fingers in there and be able to move that when we go to turn it right side out. Like most things, we're going to sew this inside out. So I'm going to pull my two exterior pieces together and my two lining pieces together, and just kind of get them lined up. You could absolutely use pins in this case. It'd probably be a good idea, actually. I'm just going to wing it. You do want to point, so we're actually going to sew, we're going to start down here.
I'm just moving it up so you can see.
Yeah. So I'm going to start sewing here, and I'm going to come around up. I'm going to sew right over the zipper all the way around, over the zipper again, and then stop here. So I'm going to leave an opening right there to turn, but everything else is just going to be a one swift seam. That was hard to say. So to get over the zipper, you do need to squash it, and you want the teeth of the zipper pointing towards the lining, and the zipper tape pointing towards the exterior. And that will give you this kind of rounded corner. There are, if you don't like this look, there are definitely other ways to do this, but we're just doing it as quick and simple as possible.
And that looks really nice.
It's never bothered me.
Yeah.
I know that it does bother some people, but if you put the teeth pointing towards the lining, it makes, there's like a weird pull happening, and it doesn't look quite as nice. So point your teeth towards the lining. And this part, I think I am just going to put a clip. Same on this side, because I want to make sure that they stay lined up since it's not actually zipped closed. Looks good. All right, I'll get on there. Okay, there we go. All right, so like I said, I'm going to start here, go all the way around, and stop here. And I'm just using, I'm actually using the 1/4 inch foot because that's what we tend to have on the machines usually. But your regular one or your all-purpose foot would be totally fine as well. And you probably do want to do a back stitch at the beginning and the end so that you don't pull your seam apart while you are turning it right side out. I'm going to use that, this time I'm going to set it for a needle down. Needle down, foot up, turn, foot back down. So when you do get to the zipper teeth, you do want to slow down. There is a piece of metal in there. It's right on the edge of the fabric, so I don't think I'm in danger of hitting it, but it's always a good idea to slow down and be careful. And if you're worried about it, or if you have a metal zipper, you don't want to sew through the teeth, you can, just put your needle up, move, pick up your foot, and just move the whole project back so that the needle is just past the zipper. You can also just use the hand wheel for a couple stitches like I just did to make sure that it doesn't hit anywhere, because when you're using your hand on the hand wheel, you can feel if there's too much resistance and stop. The machine is going to just keep trying to push through. So get needle down, foot up, give it a turn. Needle down, foot up, turn, foot back down. That's the important part. Again, I'm getting close to my zipper here. So again, I'm gonna just go a little slower, make sure everything's good. There we go. Okay, needle down, foot up, turn, foot down. And sewed in maybe 2.5 inches. I'm gonna reverse, do my back stitch, and voila. So now I have this really long tube. I'm gonna have to reach in here. And because I left the zipper open, I actually can reach all the way through. Oh, I would actually, before I do that, I want to trim off these edges because I don't want those. And I'm not sure these scissors are strong enough, but we'll find out. Yeah, they're fine. So yeah, definitely trim over, you know, if you have any zipper tape hanging off. If you want to trim your corners, you can. It's not completely necessary. So pull the whole thing out.
So it really does look like a tube now.
Yeah, well, especially this one because it's so long, or deep, I guess you could say. Poke out the corners. I am also a stickler for sharp corners, but I'll come back to those later. Make sure everything's looking good here. Got some random weird threads. I cut it since I actually do have scissors. All right, and then before we sew our hole closed, we just want to make sure everything's looking good. Go this way. So now that I have everything turned right side out, I'm going to push my lining in. And push those corners down.
You know what this bag looks like? It looks like a dice bag. Like if you're playing like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, maybe. I didn't think of that. Despite how much Stranger Things I watch. So, and in these corners, I also, I try to get those kind of pulled out and as sharp as possible. I mean, they're not actually going to be sharp, but, you know, so that they're not.
As magic.
It kind of is, yeah. And then, oh, you know, I'd work on those corners a little bit more, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Although we do have one last piece. So now that I've checked and make sure that everything is looking good, I'm going to go ahead and sew this hole closed so that the stuff we put in the bag doesn't get lost between the lining and the exterior. But that's really easy. One of the reasons why I always sew the corners and leave a hole in the center is so that when you do go to close it, you just kind of make sure your seam allowances are tucked in, pull it straight, and just finger press. And it just makes a nice clean edge, really simple. If you leave a corner open, it's so hard to end up with a nice right corner. It always ends up like, you know, crooked and weird looking. So this way, you know, just sew the corners the easy way and then keep it easier on yourself. So I'm just gonna do a quick top stitch here to close this up.
And if you like really want it to be fancy, you could always sew it by hand.
Right, if you didn't want to see the stitches, yes, you could absolutely sew it by hand. I have never done that. You do want to do a back stitch here because this is what's going to keep it together. And you don't have to go all the way across. You can if you want, but you just have to make sure that the opening is closed. And yeah, since it's the inside of a bag, I'm not, I guess, should we do this one again? I never, does that work at all?
You just shook the camera while everyone.
Oh, I didn't realize you were on that camera.
Yeah.
Sorry, people. Yeah, so now I'm just going to trim my threads. Right, but my thinking is if it's on the inside of a lining of a bag, it doesn't need to be the prettiest thing.
Yeah, unless you're giving it to my mom, who would totally like look on the inside.
And
be
you
like,
can barely see these stitches. I
Yeah.
mean, with thread that matches, you can barely see it. So I'm going to tuck that back in. And one of the tricks that I have found for getting corners is, Oh, let's get the rest of this. Actually, yeah, I can think of quite a few things actually that this would be a good shape for. To get those corners, I mean, that's close, but it's not good enough in my opinion, is taking a pin actually, and you can just sort of pull the fabric out. You want to do it gently, of course, but that's better. And you need a pretty sturdy pin, you know, not like a really thin patchwork pin for this, but yeah, that's better. That's more like it. So there we go. We've got our lined, custom size, New York City border print zipper pouch. So
I still can't get over the lining. I just love the lining so
So
much.
how easy was that? It was 2 seams to put in the zipper and 1 seam to go all the way around,
Right.
and then 1 short one to close it up.
Yep.
4 seams, 4 pieces of fabric, 1 zipper.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no reason
There's like one hard part, which is putting them in the right order.
putting them in the right order and getting over, when you're sewing over the 2 sides of the zipper at the end, you just want to pay, not at the end, sort of in the middle, you just want to pay more attention there. It's not that it's hard, you just don't want to go screaming over it because there's a good chance you'll hit something. But yeah, if you're just careful and pay attention, it's not that hard. So here you go, people. We've got the free pattern for the zippered pouch I'm sure there's a link. It'll be on our website. And also links to the We All Sew blog for the Sookie Sews Hanitizer carrying case, and a little tissue. Now I've got threads everywhere. A little tissue carrying case.
And what's good about all of these is, like, if your kid is 5, this is helpful. But like, if your kid's 20 and going to college, it's still helpful.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. My daughter's 5. You know, any encouragement a 5-year-old can get to wipe their nose with a tissue is necessary. So if, you know, a cute little tissue pouch is certainly going to help. I can't guarantee that they'll use it, but it's certainly going to help. And I know my daughter is all about the Hanitizer, as she calls it. She has one on her backpack, and she'll get there and offer it to her friends. And do you need some Hanitizer? Do you need some Hanitizer? Which is adorable. So this way you will always have it, because that's the other thing. I know I have it in my bag, but finding it in my bag is a totally different story. So this way you can put it on a key ring and either, you know, hook it to something in your bag so that you can find it, or actually put it on your key ring, hook it on your backpack, whatever you need to do. So I hope that these projects were, you know, helping you, or helpful, and giving you some inspiration for some things to do, and, you know, helping you fill a need and get ready for back to school. Or even if you're not going back to school, you know, just for some organization or some brighten up your day when you need a tissue, you can you can get it out of some pretty fabric.
Yeah.
So hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments. And if you have any questions, by all means, you can do that too. We'll be happy to help answer those. And we will be back next week with another Tuesday in the shop.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, that was good.
Did we say it at the same
We
time?
did.
That's amazing. Bye, everybody.
Bye.